Hi, this is my Connors Bukani, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Today I want to just deal with some misconceptions that church leaders have. Some misconceptions that church leaders have. And these are common misconstruing issues that the church leaders would have, and that's something that needs to be corrected and to be addressed. And that's the reason why I want to speak about this, because I know that if we correct this will actually assist the church to progress, because the church leaders will be able to run the church appropriately. The first thing that I want to bring about today is that church leaders are having a tendency of being administrators of things than being servers of the people or servants of the people. They administrate things, they're very busy, and they're doing things and correcting things, they're strategizing issues and so on. And they forget that the ministry survives or stands because there are people. Now, as a minister or as a leader, a church leader, the main priority should be to serve the people. And as you serve the people, you'll see that things will fall into place. And you'll be able to get the very same people to participate in administering things. Because when you administer things as a leader and not take care of the people or serve the people, you're going to lose out. You will actually not have members. You'll actually therefore burden yourself by carrying the whole load of the church and the activities thereof without actually having anybody to help you. Now, a very wise church leader is the one who develops the people. In other words, you become a servant of the people. You develop them to an extent that they can do most of the work. So therefore, what will happen thereafter, you'll be able to allocate them some tasks and some duties that they will be able to carry them on and make sure that things happen even in your absence. Now, a church leader who's able to serve the people doesn't need to be administering things, because, as I've said, that administration of things should be on the hands of the people, should be on the shoulders of the people. But it will need a leader to be able to serve the people to an extent that to train them to be matured enough to be able to participate in activities and the work of the church, to be able to drive the vision, as I say, sometimes even in your absence as a leader. So this is very important. So now the word discipleship, I'm sure you would remember that Jesus discipled the people. Now, he was not carrying the administration of things. He was not carrying everything on his shoulders. He was having what we call disciples. And these are the people that turned into apostles as well in his absence. So what we are looking at here, we are looking at people that have been developed by a church leader in order to be able to administrate things themselves. But the leader's job is actually to serve the people, to make sure that the people are healthy, to make sure that the people are strong enough, they are matured, they are learned, and they understand how to do things. Because when you have done that, you are able actually to watch and see people doing the work. But please make sure that you train them, and therefore you allocate them tasks as well. And that's very key. Secondly, leaders are having tendency of thinking that leadership equals to spiritual maturity. In other words, when somebody is appointed into a leader, they end up neglecting their own spiritual growth. They end up neglecting their own spiritual development. And as a result, they fold their arms, they sit back, because they think that now that they are leaders, therefore they are actually matured spiritually. But I want to mention this today, that leadership doesn't necessarily mean that you're matured spiritually. Leadership means that you're still having a potential to develop yourself and become better and mature in every aspect of your life. So therefore, leadership is a responsibility, not a position. So it should actually put pressure on you that therefore now, because you're a leader, you need to develop yourself even much more better. You need to mature spiritually. You need to know things much more better. As I've mentioned earlier in the earlier lesson, that the leaders, which are elders in that regard, they need to develop themselves so that they can even be able to teach sound doctrine. But you cannot teach sound doctrine if you're not matured spiritually. So therefore, as a leader, it is not automatic that you're matured spiritually. You still need to work hard to mature yourself spiritually, even though you are a leader. And that is very key that we mention right now. Now, the other thing that is a total misconception is that you find leaders seeking material security. than spiritual stability. And this is a misconception that leaders have. And when they get into leadership, most of them, they become greedy. Most of them, they want money to themselves. They want flashy cars. They want beautiful houses. And they go on with the list. And they forget that material security is not necessarily going to get you anywhere. That what you need, basically, is what we call spiritual stability. And when somebody is spiritually stable, you are able also to administrate those material things that come to you. Now, a person who's not matured, a person who's not spiritually stable, they're not even able to handle money. When money comes to your hands, you abuse money, or it may even abuse you. And you may run into problems and behave strangely because now you're having money without spiritual stability. Now, leaders should actually pursue spiritual stability, because also when you pursue spiritual stability, remember, you are increasing the capacity of handling material things when they come to you. Now, many people fall when they've got material things, and they crumble and even lose God when they are having material things. Is purely because they've not created capacity of handling material things by what we call spiritual stability. So therefore, you need to grow your spiritual domain and become spiritually stable. And when you are spiritually stable, you are able to handle material things when they come to you. You must realize that the people that are spiritually matured and stable, even when they have money, they're still actually humble enough. They still actually deal with people and serve the people, even when they have got money. Now, but those that are not spiritually stable, when they've got money, money goes to their head, and they behave arrogantly towards people, and they arrogant even against their own members. And that's crazy, but it's something that's happening. And I must mention that it is because of lack of spiritual maturity or spiritual stability, because that's very key that you become spiritual stable, and that will help you to handle what we call material security. Now, finding satisfaction in failures of others, that's totally unacceptable, but it's very common in leaders. And it's common in people that are matured. It's common in some of the church leaders that are so much in competition with others that they wish others bad. When others are in scandals, they celebrate. When others are doing bad, they celebrate. Now, the failures of others don't necessarily translate into success in your side. And I must honestly say that even when others are failing, you still need to work hard for your own success. It's not that because others are failing and you celebrate, then your world is better. Now, as a leader, remember that. And therefore, developing yourself is more of a priority than competing with others, because you may compete with others that are not on the same lane with you. Remember, you're not having the same vision. You are not having the same calling. So therefore, you might be competing with the people that are not really doing something that you're doing. It may look like the same because they're running, say, a ministry or a church. But remember that ministries and churches are not the same because their visions are not the same. So therefore, failures of others cannot be celebrated. And when you celebrate a failure of someone, it shows immaturity from your side. So it shows that you're not matured enough. And therefore, be careful not to celebrate the mistakes of others, because that doesn't add even a bit of success in your life by celebrating the weaknesses or the failures of others. Now, there are also this thing that leaders misconceive, or some misconception with leaders, whereby they're reacting on new knowledge based on who reveals it. Now, when there's a new knowledge and somebody reveals it, if it's somebody that you revere so much, it looks like it's new, you'll celebrate it as a revelation. But the very same thing, if it was brought by somebody that you undermine, you don't regard it as something very revelatory. And that's key. That's key that you look at it that way. That please, as a leader, be able to celebrate the truth. So in other words, if it is a revelation, it comes from somebody that is not really your favorite. If it's a celebration, a revelation, celebrate it. And don't look at the face of who revealed it. And that's very key as well, that we mention that. Using people for personal gain, that's a misconception, because the very same people sometimes that you are abusing, the very same people that you are sucking them of their hard-earned monies, The very same things that you're abusing them and putting legs on them and laying feet on them and say you're praying for them. The very same people that you're pushing them to fall, and sometimes you're clapping them as you say you're laying hands on them and praying for them. These are the very same people that you're using them for your own personal gain, but this is untoward. Now, as a leader, when you are doing that, you have got a serious misconception, because the very same people are the ones who are making you who you are. You are called a leader because you are leading people. You're called a pastor because you're pastoring people. You're called actually somebody who is in control because you're controlling something within your hands. So that's very important that we understand that leadership is not in vacuum. So leadership is a leadership because you are leading people. So therefore you cannot abuse the people that you are leading for personal gain, for fame, for money, and for riches and so on. So please don't abuse people for personal gain. That is a wrong way of dealing with people as a leader. Now, the other thing is measuring ministry success by numbers. That's a total misconception as well. That many of the pastors, they look at the number of people that are coming to attend by their church, and they think that the ministry is great because it's having bigger numbers of people that are coming to attend. Listen to this. A church should not be measured by the number of people. It should be measured by how stable it is with the people spiritually. You may have 5 people in the church that are spiritually matured and stable, but somebody is having 10 people that are flaky and not matured. And the greater church there is the one with 5 members that are having a backbone that can stand when the tides of the devil are coming. When all the arrows of the devil are shooting towards them, they can be able to stand their ground. So in that regard, then you can say, this is a powerful church. This is a strong church. Not because of the number of people, no, but because of the stability and the maturity of the people thereof. And that will define a strong church. So that misconception should be dealt with, that we cannot judge the strength and success of a church based on the number of membership. And that is a total misconception. Lastly, being biased because of previous heads. Because sometimes there are some leaders that are head. There are some leaders that have gone through rough times. There are leaders that have been offended sometimes. And because you've been offended now, you're dealing with people based on that. And everybody that you look at, you're treating them as if they were the ones who actually hurt you. And you were hurt in the past, but you bring your past hurts to actually affect the people now. What did these people do to you? If you were hurt previously, what did these ones do to you? And we have seen this in relationships whereby somebody's a divorcee and they've been hurt by their previous partner, but now they treat their current partner as if they're the ones who hurt them. And that is not on. And therefore, I want to correct this, that as church leaders, please don't use your previous head to actually deal with the people currently, because that will misconstrue and it actually damages the church as well. Because the very same people that are here now, they are here with good motives, they are here with good intentions, and they want to serve you with faithfulness and transparency. And therefore, you are destroying them by bringing your previous heads and start talking things that they don't even know, or treating them in a way that they don't even know, because they've never been there when you were hurt. So please be careful of how you deal with the members right now, because you may be hurting them because you are hurt yourself. Now you are actually ministering to them with a bleeding heart. And as you do that, you're destroying the church itself, because these people don't know that you've been hurt previously. So please be careful with that. I want to end up here today. Your host, Mike Spokane. Thank you very much for listening to us with this topic and being part of it. And I hope you'll join us tomorrow once more. We will be dealing with another topic. May the good Lord bless you right now, and cheers for now.